right, I'm just gonna get right into it with nobody in here because I expect everyone to watch the replay, basically. All right, so today we are deep diving into this book, Rich and Righteous. But before we do that, we have to prepare ourselves for the mindset shift. Okay, so in order to do that, we are going to do meditation. There is going to be a quick read aloud, and we will also have a discussion about the book. So let's just get right into it. We have to get into the mindset of wealth and worthiness. So the meditation music is already going, so let's just start with a quick 3-minute meditation. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3. Exhale out. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. We're going to meditate. Clear your mind. Prepare yourself for the mindset shift. Repeat after me. I am worthy of financial abundance. I am worthy of abundance. I can get anything I want in this life. Money is attracted to me. Wealth is attracted to me. Abundance is attracted to me. All right, and sit in silence for 1 minute. Okay. Amazing. Okay. We have a few more affirmations to say before we start. So repeat after me. I am divinely guided in my financial decisions. Money flows to me as I walk in my purpose. I am worthy of wealth that aligns with my values. Let's say that again. I am divinely guided in my financial decisions. Money flows to me as I walk in my purpose. I am worthy of wealth that aligns with my values. It's very important to know your worth and your value, even outside of a monetary sense, because when you don't know your own value, you are going to settle for less. And this life is interesting because people, not even just people, but just being on earth as a human, this life doesn't know anything other than energies. And so if you give off the energy that you don't know your own worth, well, that's what you're going to receive in return, and continuously receive in return. Once you realize your worth, you have to act accordingly. You can't just always think that you're going to give yourself as a discount. So we have to align ourselves to what we genuinely believe. And so you have to genuinely believe that you want more out of life. So that's how you're going to get more out of life, when you genuinely believe that you deserve it. And so that's why this book, Rich and Righteous, was chosen. And it's Spiritual Secrets to Mastering Money Manifestation in Your Mind. And while it is based off of a, I guess, biblical sense, there is no religious text in here that is persuading you to go to church or be religious. I personally am not religious. So if we can remove ourselves from that type of thinking and read it as a mental book rather than a rather than a religious text, it is so much more helpful for our lives. I really cannot see the chat right now, so I did not see. And so now we're going to go into breaking down some key principles in the book. I'm going to read a few passages in the book. But this was a very interesting read because the introduction alone is about 20 pages. And I thought I was reading the book when I was reading the introduction. It's so long. Let me see. Yeah. Okay, well, that's part of the book already. So about this much is the intro. So let's just really get into why we should even read a book like this. So let's get into it, because like I mentioned, I'm not very religious, and I know some people are not very religious either, but to not believe in God is to not believe in yourself. And hey, that's a total other conversation. But let's see. All right, I don't know much about Julian Gordon, but I do know that the reason that he wrote this book was extremely significant. There was a need for a mindset shift in humanity, basically. It has nothing to do with politics, religion, even your whatever you want to believe in that sense, like a worldly sense, but in a mental sense, in a spiritual sense, this book is meant to wake up people who are it's meant to wake you up to why you believe what you believe, or why you do what you do. And I found that to be very interesting. And so, like I said, why you should read this book. Well, Luke 12:12 says, the Holy Spirit will give you the words to say at the moment when you need them. I remember when I needed words. And so I would just be looking on YouTube, and I saw Iyanla Vanzant. And she was having her own series on live. I always caught the replay, but she would go live, and it was like a daily encouragement thing. I forgot what it was called, but it was during the pandemic where people had no money, people were getting laid off, and everything was so uncertain. And so when things are so uncertain, that's when you have to really have the faith. It's really going to test you're gangsta, kind of, or like, you know, see if you are really faithful. And so that's why it was so interesting that in the introduction of this book, it said, Luke 12:12, the Holy Spirit will give you the words to say at the moment when you need them. And so now we got to look at what does it mean? What does it mean to be rich and righteous? Well, let's look up the definition of rich. The definition of rich says having a great deal of money or assets, wealthy, or there's two different ones. That one, having a great deal of money or assets, wealthy, or plentiful, abundant. I know we're talking about money right now, but you don't have to have a lot of money to be rich. People describe chocolate as rich when it has like a specific taste, when it's good, when it fills your body with feeling a certain way, or your taste buds feel a certain way. So when people are rich, I feel like, yeah, some people are corrupt and rich, but that usually doesn't last, right? But when you are rich, when you are abundant, you are plentiful, you are really unstoppable in this world. You really have a sense of self that cannot be shaken. And that's why I'm on this live right now with nobody watching me, but I have faith that people are going to be watching this video after I make it. So I believe that I am rich and righteous because I'm having that mindset shift. And so if we are plentiful and abundant, it will lead to us having a great deal of money or assets or wealthy. Anyway, even if we don't have all the money in the world, we could still be rich. And so that leads us to righteous. Because I know a lot of people take the connotation of righteous as in religious, but the definition of righteous is morally right or justifiable. Oh, wow, I can't talk right now. Morally right or justifiable, virtuous. Okay, so feelings of righteous indignation about pay and conditions. So, morally right. It's really easy to be morally right. You know, I was just saying today, I was having an emotional, I don't want to say emotional outburst because it wasn't really an outburst, but just like an emotional feeling. And I was just laughing to myself like, yeah, I have the feeling of like wanting to hurt someone or wanting to harm someone, but I don't because I'm a good person. And I'm like, oh man, people are so lucky I'm a good person. I just was like being like morally right and justifiable. While my anger is justified, I am not going to harm people because it's not morally right to do that. So if we could be rich and righteous in this world, we will gain the abundance, the plentifulness, and everything we've ever desired in this world. Okay, and let's see what the book says about righteous, because I found that to be very interesting. Okay. And there's a very, 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 very important thing about this book. Okay? The author says, I will not be teaching you strategies to manipulate money. I see videos like that on YouTube all the time. I personally am also not doing that. I'm not making these lives to tell you how to manipulate money. I'm telling you how to live in your abundance and your truth and really believe that you can do something, but you have to believe it. I'm not even trying to convince you of that. I'm just showing you that you can believe it. But yes, I will not teach you strategies to manipulate money. There's tons of YouTube videos here trying to tell you how to manipulate money, how to get $5,000 in a day, and all these other YouTube videos that, to be honest, is a load of BS. The only way to get to a level of abundance is to be helpful, is to show that what you are doing is impacting the world. But anyways, so the author also says, by righteous, I mean anyone who is in alignment with God and merely seeking to do more good and demonstrate more God in the world. So let's break that down. Anyone who is in alignment with God and merely seeking to do more good and demonstrate more God in the world. So, in alignment with God, let's really look at that. Like I said, I'm not here to preach to you. I'm not a pastor. I don't go to church, etc. But what I'm telling you is, in the Bible it says God is made in our image. God is made in our image, and God is within. So if God is within, and we're basing it on the text, you are godly. I am godly. So anyone who's in alignment with God, alignment with yourself, and merely seeking to do more good and demonstrate more God in the world, more God in the world, more you in the world. How can you, and it goes back to that rich and righteous, being morally good. How can you be more morally good to expand your abundance? How can you be more righteous to multiply everything that you desire? Okay, and that goes into how you could even use this book to multiply what you desire and how you can get to that alignment. Okay. Okay. More important than getting this book in your hands is making sure it gets into your head, your subconscious mind, your conscious mind, and your heart, your subconscious mind. So in our head, we think so much more logically in our heads, so that's our conscious mind. Our subconscious mind is our heart. Sometimes we have our intuition and it's leading us. That makes sense. So the author says, not only do I intend for this book to sell, but I want it to be one of the most read and implemented books. Similar to money, this wealth of wisdom will be useless unless you use it. I'm not here for just the transfer of information. I'm here for your transformation. So we have to transform our minds and our hearts to receive exactly what we want. And that is pretty much the definition of manifestation, is being delusional. I talk about that on this channel all the time. You have to have a level of delusion. You have to manifest a certain way to receive exactly what you want. And that is really called transformation. You have to manifest to transform. And that's what I really found interesting about this book, is that it pretty much calls out what we're doing wrong. And what we do wrong a lot is, doing the same thing over and over again. For example, for a lot of us, given the political climate, it is possibly a recession coming up, or possibly already in a recession. So people are a little bit uncertain. 401ks are dwindling. People are scared. People are wondering what is going to happen. And so they do things out of scarcity. We do things out of wondering, okay, what's going to be next, instead of just telling life what is going to be next. Because we have done that our whole lives. We have been trying to play God in the way of like, oh, I'm going to conform into a way of thinking that was given to me. Like going to school. They said, go to school, get a good job, and everything will work out. It's not working out. And so that is called insanity. Insanity is thinking the same thing and doing it over and over and over again. So if we read, there are Bible verses in here, but they're very, very informative. And so, like I mentioned before, if we could use this more as a mental book than a religious book, it will make more sense. So in the verse, Matthew 18:20, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them. That's why I decided to do this live. Even if nobody watches it, I know someone's going to watch it. I know one person at least is going to watch it. And so we have to raise the collective, whether shaken or not, scared or not, nobody watching or not. That's why I'm on here. So let's move on to what is money. because I know a lot of us have an idea of money and we have a way of thinking about money, but that's not the way that we should really think about it. I can't believe I've actually shifted already about it, and I really want to share because it is very, very interesting. Okay, so we're going to get right into the book now that we have prepared ourselves. Okay, so we're going to say what is money, and then we're going to talk about the differences between spiritual wealth and material wealth. Okay, the dictionary definition of money is as follows. It's a medium of exchange. A medium of exchange is issued by a government or other public authority in the form of coins, gold, silver, or other metal or paper bills, used as a measure of the value of goods and services, blah, 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 whatever, So basically, it's a medium of exchange. We're exchanging something where we give somebody money, they give us something back. So let's. The book actually talks about how wrong emphasis on money and not enough emphasis on our purpose and why we should just align and the money will come. So that's, I think if you have spiritual wealth, you already align to a certain mindset shift. Yeah, it is raining, so my internet is going in and out, I think. Hopefully it did not ruin the live, I guess. Okay. So let's look at more Bible verses that is talking about what we're talking about. Okay, so Ecclesiastes 10:19 says, money answers everything. That's interesting because there's another Bible verse that says money is the root of all evil, which is in here. We're not going to even go there because I'm not putting that energy into the universe. But money answers everything is interesting because the author says, what I have come to know is that money cannot solve every problem, but stored energy can. And that's all money is stored energy. Money is a medium of exchange between heaven, the mental, and earth, the material. So if we're going to talk about spiritual versus material wealth, heaven would be the mental, would be the spiritual, and earth would be the material, and that is what everyone chases, but they forget about heaven. They forget about the mental. They forget about you cannot create money with a scarcity mindset, in a low vibrational mindset. And so the author says, if we have enough money, any problem can be solved. Money is malleable and it's a malleable spirit. But the author also goes on to say in the book that heaven and earth, separating them from mental versus material, helps us understand how money is an energy. Because if we're always chasing a bag, always just chasing it on earth, but in your mental is like, oh man, I don't know if I'll be able to do that, or I won't know how much money I'm gonna have in the week, or you're always just constantly trading your time for money. That is also not having a heaven mindset, a mental mindset of, I will get this money. And the only way you can break free from that, giving your time for money, is having purpose-driven prosperity, having purpose-driven ways to make money. So even if it is, you giving your services, that's different and in a better way to attract money than just trading your time for money, having a 9-to-5, having a place where someone else is getting richer and you are just helping them do that instead of living in your purpose. So on page 5, it says, rather than prey on it like a hunter, like I said, trying to do the hustle and grind and not really have any real clear direction, you will be able to pray for it and it will come. So rather than prey on it like a hunter, you'll be able to pray for it and it will come. It's very, very straightforward, but you have to really tap in. Are you tapped in right now? Because I'm saying a lot of stuff. I know I'm saying a lot of stuff, but it will all make sense. Okay? So let's talk about faith over fear in finances, because I know a lot of people, myself included, struggle with this. Trusting divine guidance in wealth building. It's really, really difficult to trust in something that you cannot see. And I know there's a saying, faith without works is dead. But we be doing the works and then not having the faith. How does that work? faith without works is dead. But it's like, works without faith, you might as well just quit. That's what I say. And so we have to figure out a way where faith over fear is apparent. And I know a lot of people don't have or are not in a position to put themselves in a tricky or scary predicament. And by scary, I mean maybe it's a risky predicament. Maybe like, say, quitting your job or having a lower paid job just so that you could have more time to tend to your abundance. But for those that can, if I could encourage someone out there to just take the leap, and I'm saying a leap, you're not being pushed off a ledge, taking a leap, I'm encouraging it. Because we have to, again, trust divine guidance in wealth building. If you have an actual purpose-driven goal, you will attain it if you just have the faith. And it's so much easier said than done, because we're talking about money, we're talking about the world, we're talking about greed, we're talking about righteousness and all this. But that's why we have to have a money mindset shift. And that's why we're talking about this book. That's why we're talking about a bunch of other things. And we'd have to break free from scarcity and step into the abundance. So what does breaking free from scarcity and stepping into the abundance look like? That's something that we have to define for ourselves. For me, breaking free from scarcity and stepping into the abundance is removing myself from things that no longer serve me, which is negative thinking, which is being around people that drain me, that are just taking from me, that are like always, they're just take, not give. And I'm the only one giving, and they're the ones taking from me. So once I break free from that, and I'm now open to do my purpose, I'm open to show up for myself, I am open to give with also receiving, that's when I will receive. Because when you're depleted and when you are trying to make abundance in survival mode, it won't work. It's never gonna work. And it's okay to maybe grieve or feel away, guilty, whatever, and then come back and do the thing. Because we cannot be successful if we are being held back by any means necessary. And yes, speaking of, we have to be thriving, tithing, giving, and receiving. So the flow of spiritual and financial blessings. And what I mean by tithing, I know there is a traditional sense in the church. Tithing is like giving money to the church, but your tithing could just be also giving back to the very people that make you abundant and make you successful. I see some people, when they go live and they're like business owners or something, they have free giveaways. Like the people that's been by me, blah, 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 whatever. That's a form of tithing. There is no strings attached. It's like thank you. It's more of like a thank you letter. And so we got to be used to giving thank you letters to people that help us on our trajectory to abundance, success, and all that. And we just talked about giving and receiving. If you're a giver, you have to be around other givers, because if you're not around other givers, you will be drained. And then that is called being used. If you're giving to somebody, even if it's energetically, you are being used if they don't do the same thing. For example, if you are dating someone and they are not, even if they give you all the material stuff in the world, they take you on nice dinners, they give you all these things, but when it comes to emotional intimacy, if they don't want to say I love you, they don't want to commit to you, they don't really feel you for real, you are being used. You are giving that person something much bigger than material. You're giving that person your soul. You're giving them a part of you, and they're not giving you any part of them. And that's not fair. So be wary of that when you are a giver. So yes, you should be giving, but you also should be receiving. People should be also receiving from you, and you are receiving from them. And here's the thing about receiving. A lot of us we have to break out of not wanting to receive. Let's talk about that. A lot of us don't want to receive because we're not used to it. We're used to being the giver. We're used to just depleting ourselves and being like, yep, well, that's it. You know, no, there are some people that want to give to you and you can receive it. For example, compliments. Some of us can't even take a compliment. If someone's like, oh, you're so beautiful, it's like, no, say yes, thank you so much. That's it. You can just say thank you and just move on. You don't have to make it a whole big thing. You don't even have to compliment the person back. And I know that may be something that's more comfortable, because it's like, oh, she gave me something so I could give it to her right back. And you can do that if you want, but you don't have to. You can really just say thank you and move on. You deserve to be complimented. You deserve to be put in positions to win. So, let's really believe that for a second. We can give and receive, and it's totally fine. We have to believe that the thing that we want is possible. It is very possible to want what you want. And then that's just it. We live in a world where anything is possible. We live in the country of opportunities, despite what it looked like. We live in the world of opportunity. So we have to learn how to have the flow of spiritual and financial blessings. Okay. Since I don't want to spoil the whole entire book for you, let's start with some money mantras that we can start telling ourselves. And then we can have some take action challenges and close out in a meditation. Okay. Repeat after me. I am rooted in my financial abundance. I am creating a healthy and abundant money story. I practice money mindfulness by being fully present during my money decisions. I am deserving of wealth, prosperity, and financial abundance. I am clear on my values and spend on things that I love and avoid spending on things I don't love. I release my old money story and create a new story grounded in my financial goals and values. Okay. This is the part where I'm supposed to answer questions, but there are no questions, which is totally fine. I really appreciate the people that popped in and popped out, and so curious that you didn't have any questions. That's totally fine with me. Totally fine with me. Okay, so the main takeaway is to take one step forward in faith. And the faith is to just believe in yourself. Believe that you can do it. Because when you think that you can, you can. And when you think that you can't, you can't. That's basically what this is about. And we have to just rewire our brain. We have to rewire our mind, conscious mind, and rewire our subconscious mind as well, so that we can align with what we are planning to do. So this week, take one step forward in faith. Whether it's setting a financial goal or giving intentionally, or again, the most important thing, if you don't do anything else, just shift your mindset. Shift your mindset into what you really want. Because like I've been saying this whole entire time, what you want is possible. What you desire is desiring you back. Once you step into it, once you step into alignment with it, it's already coming to you. And so that's what we have to really believe, because it's true. And it's so hard when we live in a world that tells us otherwise, or that we see in the 3D with our eyes what's happening. What's happening is not what we're actually doing. We have to have a level of delusion, thinking that, okay, what I want is coming to me. What I want is actually here. Not even coming to me, it's here. Because that's how we end up calling in the very thing that we want. That is how so many people have gotten things that they maybe haven't even seen yet, is because once you align with the energy of, this is mine, I already have it, it shows up. And so if you don't do anything else that I mentioned, that is the main takeaway. Shift your mindset. Mindset is so important. It is the main driver of pretty much every successful person in this world. They shifted their mindset. They were delusional in certain ways, and they were able to achieve everything they needed to achieve. So if you're bold, you could comment your biggest takeaway on what you believe, and we can really do some closing affirmations. Or let's do actually, oh, I haven't read this part yet. There's so many parts I haven't read yet, but I wanted to randomly say a quote. I'm just gonna do it, okay? We're just gonna have it. All right. Oh. Okay. So I randomly got on page 136, and it says, our perverted and introverted relationship with money. How fitting. So the verse on here, once again, I'm just going to say, disclaimer, I am not religious, but I'm using this as a mental tool for mindset shift. So there are Bible verses in here, but, you know, I'm not convincing anyone of any religion. Okay, so it says, Mark 10:21-22. You lack one thing. Go sell all that you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. And come, follow me. Disheartened by the saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. That is so interesting, because I don't think that this was talking about physical possessions. When I read that verse, I'm not hearing, oh, sell all that you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Heaven, as you remember, is the mental. So you'll have treasure in heaven when you sell all that you have and give to the poor. And that's talking about having a purpose-driven prosperity in life, having that purpose. And then you'll have treasure in heaven. Then you'll have treasure in your mind, is what I got from that. And come, follow me. Disheartened by the saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. People do not understand what they are doing in life. People are not understanding what they're even reading in a text that they go to a building to go be told to. So it's like, okay, wow. So the author says, slavery is not just man to man. Anything you can't say no to is your master, and you're a slave, especially money. When you work for money, you are a slave to it. And that's what we're talking about. When you are constantly chasing money like a hunter, if you chase money, you won't have it. A lot of people that are abundant, we've already talked about this, you could be rich without even having money, first of all. But people who are rich in money, they're not chasing it. They haven't chased it to get that surplus bit. So why do we believe that we have to chase money to get it? Again, money is an energy, and it is an energy store. So when you believe that you have to chase the money to get it, the money is no longer here. So the author also says, some rich people seek to make a lot of money to squeeze God out of the equation. They think to themselves, if I have enough money, I don't need to rely on God for anything. And we've already talked about God as in, we're talking about this as a mental book. God is within, right? That is something that is in the biblical text. God is within, we are godly, so God is me. So some people seek to make a lot of money to squeeze themselves out of the equation. They think to themselves, if I have enough money, I don't need to rely on God for anything. Money has become their God, and they will do anything to get more of it. This is why the scripture says that the love of money is the root of evil. When you love money, you are willing to put profits over people. You're willing to unalive, steal, lie, cheat, diminish, and oppress other people in the name of more money. In the end, it does not justify the means. Any act against any of God's children is an act against God. And we were just talking about that when we were saying being rich and righteous and what it means. When you are righteous, you are morally good. So you cannot be morally good and rich at the same time. And I know that blows people's minds because we see these people who are rich, but they are not really rich all the way, because you cannot be rich and a bad person. Because rich also means abundant and plentiful, but the abundance and plentiful means nothing if you're not righteous. So, okay, this is such a good random excerpt. I haven't read this part yet. So, anyways, the author says, this is the last part, and then we're going to move on. So this is also applies to how the man has destroyed and polluted Mother Earth of her natural resources as well as animals for the sake of profit. No matter how much money one obtains, there is no way to circumvent or escape God's omnipresence and omnipotence and the universal laws. What goes around must come around. I literally just said that. I literally just said that without even reading it first. Like this author is saying, you could try to chase after money. You can try to think that the answer is money, but the way that people are using money is wrong. Some middle-class folks work for money to preserve their way of life and the American dream. In many ways, their employer becomes their God, and they receive a bi-weekly allowance from this paternal figure in their life. They think, if I work hard and do good, I will be rewarded with higher pay. As Jesus said in John 4:34, my food is to do the will for him who sent me and to finish his work. You can climb as high as you want on the corporate ladder, but that won't get you any closer to heaven if the work you are doing is not aligned with your God-given purpose. I was also saying that Your bank account can look full while your soul is empty. And that's why we are so depleted after work. When we go to work and we feel tired and we feel sluggish, that is why, because we are not doing soul purposeful work. We are not purpose driven. We are making someone else rich for reasons we don't even know. And then we expect to, oh, I'm gonna be a millionaire one day. How? What does that even mean? Why do you want $1 million? You know what I'm saying? People don't even know. I think it's the reasoning, you know, if we're gonna go there. I know a lot of people just want a lot of money just so that they're comfortable and they don't have to worry about anything and blah, 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 blah. But you really could just do purposeful work and have more faith in what you're doing and live a much better life. Okay, some people in poverty think that celebrity will save them, so they make celebrities their gods and aspire to be, do, and have the things they see celebrities have on TV. And it's so crazy that this is even saying this, because I used to be like that too. I still want to be an actress, and I am an actress, but there was just something that turned me off so badly about Hollywood, where I was like, okay, I want to act, but I don't know if I want to do it in Hollywood, or I don't know, like, I stopped auditioning altogether. I haven't had an audition, like a industry audition, in years. I would say about even a year and a half, 2 years. And so many people are like, oh my God, like, you need an agent, you need this and that. But really, I can't make celebrities my God. I can be an actress without being a celebrity, or what people will see as celebrity. Like, we can do anything we want to do. The lack of money appears to be the root of all evils. Some crime increases in poor neighborhoods. People unalive, steal, and scheme on a smaller scale than white-collar crime to fill deficits. But these deficits are inwards, not outward. Exactly. So when we are not in heaven, we are not mentally tapped in. We are going to see and have a scarcity mindset of, oh my gosh, well, I got to steal from that next person to get what I want. And that's always going to be a problem. A Gucci belt doesn't transform a poor mentality. It reinforces it. Fortunately, the deficiency is caused by perception. That's a whole bunch right there. That was a lot right there. Oh man, that was a really good random excerpt. So again, we got to work on what we were talking about earlier, which is our money mindset shift and having faith over fear in finances. Like, we can't look at our bank account at $5 and be afraid that we won't be able to pay for anything just because our bank account says $5. God works in mysterious and miraculous ways. We can really call in everything and anything that we want. And while faith without works is dead, so let's not be completely, unaware of that. People say that and then not have the faith. The faith got to be there with the works. So if we're going to work, we got to have the faith that it's going to be okay. And that's all this book is really talking about. And I'm really, really excited to keep talking about this. And so let's really we have 11 minutes. I really want to keep talking about this. I'm not going to lie, because there's a lot that I want to say about it. Especially since we don't have any questions. So we have more time to talk about the book. I highlighted a few things that I've already read. Okay, so let's talk about what money wants really quick. So the author says, people say money talks, so I talk back to it and ask it questions. Everyone talks about how much money they want, but they never consider asking money, what do you want? That is so interesting. I also have never thought about that. I never thought about being in a position where I can be calling in the money, but what does the money want from me? What does the money want me to do? And that's how the money is going to come to me. Never had an idea. When I read that, I was like, it felt like a light bulb. If we knew what money wanted, we would have a better chance of attracting it. The same applies to attracting a significant other. Of course, like you ask somebody on first date, oh, what do you look for in a guy? What do you look for in a girl? And so that's what we do. But we don't have that same relationship with money. We have the, oh, I gotta work hard, I gotta grind for it. And that's like not even what money was made for. Money is an energy and it's a medium, originally a medium, but that definition doesn't even really exist. We don't even have, like, paper money is so obsolete nowadays. Most of money is digital. So it's kind of like we can really do whatever we want. But I'm digressing with that. Let's keep going. People make long, elaborate lists of things they want in a partner, but rarely create a list of who they must be, what they must do, and what they must have to attract who they want. And instead of just asking, how do I get who or what I want, we can ask, who must I become and what must I give in order to get who I want or what I want? How do I become more attractive to money? That is a question I will be putting in my prayers. How can I be more attractive to money? I think of attraction from a perspective of being, doing, and having in that particular order. What does it feel like to be wealthy? How does a wealthy person think and feel about life and money? What is a wealthy person's rhythm? What does a wealthy person do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annually? How do they make decisions? What are their rituals? What does a wealthy person have intentionally and externally? The beautiful thing about being and feeling is that you can access them right now from where you are by simply using your imagination. And they use imagination, they spell it image in action. Imagination, image in action. I remember having such a vivid imagination as a child, and as an adult feeling like I had to kind of dumb that imagination down because I have to be so realistic and all this other stuff. But as you saw, like the videos I make on my channel, being realistic, really, when someone tells you to be realistic, they want you to be limiting. They want you to like not be in your true imagination, I suppose. And that's a bunch of BS. We can really curate our lives. We can create the lives that we want. Again, if you feel like you can, you can. If you feel like you can't, you can't. But let's really look at the definition of wealthy, because I know as soon as I hear wealthy, it's like, oh, somebody with a lot of money. But I feel like there's more to that definition. There has to be. Oh, well, not exactly. It says having a great deal of money, resources, or assets, rich. Oh, well, that's actually true. Okay, so when you're wealthy, you could also have a bunch of resources. A lot of us don't see ourselves as wealthy because we don't have a lot of money. But in reality, we have a lot of resources. You're wealthy. I was just talking to someone the other day when we were hanging out, and I told her, you know, if you have family that you could fall back on, say you run out of money and you won't be able to pay your car note, you won't be able to pay your rent, all this other stuff. If you can go back to family or go back to your mom's house, go back to your grandma's house, that's generational wealth. And she was like, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, yes, that is generational wealth. There's a house that, yeah, you may not live in now, but your grandmother lives in, your mom lives in, your aunt lives in. You could go back, that's generational wealth. So we got to reprogram the way that we're seeing these things, and we're hearing these words, and we're processing what that means for us. So what does money want? I would urge anybody to ask that question. If you're wondering what to do next, and hey, myself included, what to do next, you should ask yourself, what does money want? And before you ask what does money want, think about what your purpose-driven purpose is. Like, think about what you should be doing, what you feel drawn to do. And for me, it's what I'm doing now. Like, I just know when I was down and out, I knew that having the resources that I had by going on YouTube, by watching other people really live in their truth and purpose, helped me find my truth and purpose. And it made me feel like I had the fuel to go forward, and that's why I had the tenacity and the audacity to show up even when no one is watching or only one or two people are watching. I'm able to do that because I feel that confident. I feel that driven to do it. And so you have to think about for yourself, what do you feel more driven to do? Because your purpose is more important than what money wants you to do. Because they both go hand in hand though. Like whatever you want to do is probably rooted in where you're going to get your money from. And that's what this is beginning to say. The beautiful thing about being and feeling is that you can access them right now from where you are by simply using your imagination. When I think of what it feels like to be wealthy, these emotions and words arise in me: joy, peace, purpose, authenticity, alignment, patience, valuable, giving, generosity, caring, faith, creativity, trusting, discipline, abundance, gratitude, positive, and impactful. So many words, and all of them are true. Those are all wealthy words. Because when I think about what I enjoy, I think of feeling in alignment, being authentic, being patient, and it's valuable, and I'm giving. These are all very true. And the author begins to say, I believe that money is attracted to these emotions, these states of being and characteristics. Therefore, my goal is to embody, and spelled IN-body, embody them here and now. The idea is that I can't begin giving until I have a lot of money to offer is false. And you know what? I used to think that way. I have to have, when I have X amount of money, I'll be able to do what I want to do for real. I'll be able to travel here. I will be able to do that. And it's not true. We have to deprogram our brains, deprogram our hearts. Because again, we talked about you can't keep giving to people and not receive anything in return. That is called using, that is called energy vampire. And so it goes on to say, you give as you go. The amounts may be smaller or the way you give may be different, but the definition of philanthropist doesn't have a dollar amount associated with it. The dictionary does not say you have to give $1 million to be considered a philanthropist. Therefore, you can be one right now. And that's why I'm saying you have to, and we talk about this on this channel, being delusional is really not even being delusional. It's just you tapping into your future in the now. It's already happened. If it's in your brain, you've already thought about it. It's happening now. And so if you desire to be a philanthropist, like this author is saying, you don't have to wait till you have $1 million. You could just do it right now. And you actually should do it right now, because that's how you're calling into, or calling the life that you want in, by just doing exactly what you want. Okay, and this is the last little piece back here, and then we're going to close out meditation. Once we've felt what it's like to be spiritually and mentally wealthy, then we can ask, what do wealthy people do that money is attracted to? I believe that money is drawn to those engaged in problem solving, multiplying money, not saving, networking, learning, mastering a skill or subject, leaning, visioning, innovating, and creating value. And then finally, we can ask, what do wealthy people have that money is attracted to? Your inclination may be to think about external things that wealthy people have, like nice houses, cars, clothes, and attractive friends. But the key to true wealth is making sure that your possessions don't possess you. The things that truly wealthy people have are eternal and intangible, such as self-awareness, peace, joy, discipline, purpose, vision, and when engaging with others, they have good communication and harmonious relationships. This is so important because, again, when we think about rich people, we think about greed and money and how much they have and da-da-da-da. And while that may be true for some people, we're not talking about them. We're talking about the true rich people. They don't have their possessions possess them. And they may have nice houses and cars and things like that. But again, they have discipline. I talk about that heavily on this channel, where your discipline is really going to traject you into success. And the peace and the joy and the purpose that they have and the vision that they have is what made them rich and wealthy and righteous. Okay. I feel like that was such a good insert. I can't wait to finish reading this book and continue to read it for you guys as well, because again, if you would like a copy of this book, oh, thank you so much for the support. If you like a copy of this book, you can check the link in the description once I save it. And also, let's just close out with some meditation. We're going to breathe, and then we're going to meditate, and then we're going to continue our Sundays as usual. Business as usual. Okay. So we're going to breathe in. Hold 2, 3, 4, and then breathe out. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. One more time and relax ourselves. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. And we're going to do 2-minute meditation, not guided, just complete silence. All right, great. Amazing. Thank you so much for being on this live. I appreciate everyone that dropped in to show support. And I will see you later on this channel. Bye-bye.